With a quarter of the NFL season being underway, we know what teams are pretenders and what teams are contenders. Teams have certainly surprised us with good and bad play through the first quarter of the year, and others have been about what we expected. Now, we haven't done this type of video in a few weeks, and someone commented in my last video to bring back the weekly predictions, so here we are. This will be a two-part video with the other predictions coming out either Friday or Saturday, and if you don't know, the reason is I don't want an 18 or 20 minute video on my channel, and it's easier to do two 9 to 10 minute videos. And as I record this was the day Stephon Gilmore tested positive for COVID, but nothing has changed schedule wise, and I'm not getting into the whole Tennessee Titans saga. Anyways, before we get started, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel, as all support is very much appreciated. Now let's begin. And we start today's video with the Bucs at the Bears. For a Thursday night game, this is a considerable matchup as both teams are 3-1, with the Bucs on a 3-game win streak and the Bears coming off of their first loss of the year. The Bucs are 3-point favorites, and without a crowd or a small one at that, I'm surprised they aren't more than that. The Bears' first 3 wins were against the Lions, the Giants, and the Falcons, all of which they beat by just 4 points. And not surprisingly, when they played a great defense like the Colts have, they put up just 11. I don't think the Bears' defense is the issue, although Tom could very well take them to school on Thursday night. The Bears' corners aren't great, and with a rookie, and a second-round rookie at that in Jalen Johnson heading out to play against the greatest football player of all time, well, simply put, not good things will happen. Chris Godwin has already been ruled out, and Leonard Fournette is doubtful, and even though those guys won't play, I do expect the Bucs to win. Neither one of those guys played Sunday against the Chargers, and Tom still managed to put up nearly 400 yards and 5 touchdowns. I don't think Nick Foles will be able to beat Tom again, and I do think this will be sort of a revenge game for Tom. And if you don't know what I'm referencing, it's Nick defeating Tom back in Super Bowl 52. Anyways, I don't think the Bears will be able to keep pace with the Bucs, and I expect Tampa to win with a score of 31-24. And next we go to the Panthers-Falcons game. Carolina is 2-2, much to the surprise of a lot of people, as everyone, myself included, thought this would be a transition year and that they would go either 6-10 or 7-9 at best. 4 games in and they're tied with the Saints, and just a game back of the Bucs for the division lead. Atlanta, on the other hand, will have a new head coach next year, unless something seriously changes and they make the playoffs and make genuine noise. That, of course, would be a drastic change for how their season has gone so far. Anyways, for this game specifically, I do think the Panthers can limit Julio, as they held DeAndre Hopkins on Sunday to 7 catches for 41 yards, and what's good for Carolina is they are familiar playing Julio. Yes, Julio has absolutely torched them in the past, but to be fair, he's done that to everyone. But they can limit him, as I don't know if you can truly shut him down. A team can also limit Calvin Ridley for that matter, who was shut out on Monday night. Anyways, I do expect this one to be high scoring, as Atlanta's defense is awful, and Carolina has given up 30 points in 2 of the first 4 games, though credit to them, they were in the first 2 weeks and have improved since. A Teddy Bridgewater-Matt Ryan shootout would make it fun for fans of these teams to watch, as these teams combined are 2-6, and I don't expect many people outside of the southeast part of the country to watch this game. The over-under is 54.5, and I do expect the over to hit and for the Falcons to win and get their first of the year with a score of 31-27. And next we go to an interesting matchup, as it's the Bengals at the Ravens. When you look at this game, the first thing you inevitably look at is the quarterbacks. Fans and analysts want Joe versus Lamar to be a rivalry, and why wouldn't they? Joe could bring the Bengals back to relevancy and have his team compete with Lamar's for the AFC North every year. For this game specifically though, it probably won't be close. This game is in Baltimore, the Ravens are substantially better, and haven't lost to the Bengals in over 2 years. The key takeaways for this game will be how Joe Burrow handles playing against a top-notch defense. In his senior year at LSU, he successfully handled every challenge and obviously earned an opportunity to play in the NFL. The Bengals didn't draft him number 1 overall to only beat teams like the Jaguars and the football team when they play. They drafted him to lead them to a Super Bowl, and while that is years away as it's a team game, not a quarterback game, this will be a pivotal point in his young career. The Ravens won't be going anywhere for some time, and how he handles the adversity will be monumental towards him being a successful NFL player. The Ravens are 13-point favorites, and although they played on the road last week, they only traveled 40 miles to Landover to play Washington, meaning it was virtually a home game. I don't think that would have mattered though, and not surprisingly, I am going with the Ravens in this one with a score of 34-20. And next is an AFC South clash with the Jags at the Texans. On a normal week with the Texans being 0-4, I would say the Jags could very easily go into NRG Stadium and beat them, forcing them to 0-5. However, this is far from a normal week as the Texans fire their GM, head coach, and offensive play caller all in one with the departure of Bill O'Brien earlier this week. With 7 teams now in the big dance, we will inevitably see more 0-3 or 0-4 teams make the playoffs, as 8-8 will get teams in some years, and especially with divisions like the NFC East, where 6 or 7s will get the title this year. Anyways, the Texans could come out this week with vengeance and play like a completely new football team, and I'm not saying Romeo Crennel is a rally the troops guy or anything like that, but what I am saying is they may come out with a completely new fire that we simply haven't seen in all of 2020. And just because they fired Bill doesn't mean the Jags don't have a chance either. The Texans are an 0-4 team, and while the Jags aren't much better at 1-3, they do at least have a win. The Texans are 6-point favorites, and I do expect them to cover. Deshaun will play like the player we know he's capable of, and they will need to string at least 8 of the final 12 games if they have any chance of getting in the playoffs. 3 of the last 4 games between the Texans and Jags have been decided by double digits, and due to the firing of Bob, and with a renewed fight we will see in the Texans, I think it will be much of the same. Texans 27, Jags 14. And next is the Raiders at the Chiefs. The Chiefs are the all-world team with weapons absolutely everywhere, while the Raiders, and no disrespect to them as 90% of the league is in the same boat as this, they aren't the Chiefs. Kansas City has them beat at every position on the offensive side of the ball with the exception of running back, and while Josh Jacobs is a great player, he won't rush for 400 yards and 6 touchdowns and single-handedly beat the Chiefs. Even if him, Darren Waller, and Henry Ruggs, assuming he plays this week, all go for 100 yards, I don't think it will be enough. The Raiders may have already psyched themselves out of this game anyways, as earlier this week a reporter asked Derek Carr his thoughts on the Raiders-Chiefs rivalry, and Derek openly said, well, we have to win some for this to be a rivalry. Credit to Derek honestly for that response, as I'm sure everyone was thinking it, but in the same sense it can be taken as already doubting the team's ability to play against the Chiefs. I don't have to tell you guys how good Patrick Mahomes is, as you guys already know that, and with the Chiefs playing at home, coming off of a 16-point win against the Patriots, they should cruise to another easy win. And I'm assuming everyone saw the Stephon Gilmore hugging Mahomes picture, so let's all hope he doesn't have COVID and that the season goes on for not only the Chiefs, but for everyone. This game is easy to pick, and the only difficult part is choosing how much they'll win by. Kansas City 38, Raiders 20. And next is the Cardinals and the Jets. The Jets announced Wednesday that Joe Flacco will be starting, and I don't know if there will be a bigger difference in Week 5 and maybe all year than the playing styles of the quarterbacks in this game. The Cardinals hype train was real a few weeks ago as they were 2-0, DeAndre had a 14-catch game against the 49ers, and the playoff outlook was there. Although it's cooled off a little, this is a game where they can and certainly should pick back up and get things clicking. And for all Jets fans, this is rough to hear as a fan of your team, but they are a team that everyone circles on their schedule for an easy win. They are an abysmal football team, and with the Cardinals coming off of back-to-back losses, I don't see them dropping this one in any way, shape, or form. Could it happen though? Absolutely, as the NFL is extremely unpredictable, but with Flacco being announced he's starting as early in the week as it was, the Cardinals should comfortably win. If they were under the belief Darnold was starting the whole week, and then they, without meaning to might I add, put a Chargers and started Flacco, it would be a much different story. Game planning for one quarterback and getting a completely different one is very difficult for coaches to adjust to on the fly, which is why I think the Chargers played the Chiefs so tightly back in Week 2. Anyways, it has been announced Flacco will start, and a 35-year-old Flacco throwing to Jamison Crowder and Jeff Smith shouldn't pose much of a threat to anybody, much less a playoff-bound team like the Cardinals. Cardinals 31, Jets 14. And the final game for today's video is a battle for the Keystone State. The last time these teams played wasn't pretty for the Steelers, as they lost by 31 points with a score of 34-3. In this one though, they are coming off of a bye week, while the Eagles are coming off their first win of the year against the San Francisco 49ers. This game is tough to predict for a few reasons. Just because it looks one way doesn't mean that it's always the best option, as while the Steelers are 3-0, they're not, at least not right this second, regarded as a top 2 or 3 team like the Packers or Chiefs. The Steelers among locals are also known to play down to their competition, and that's a big reason this is tough to predict. Ultimately, with the Eagles being banged up and their offensive line not being anywhere close to full health, I am going to go with the Steelers in this one. The battle for the Keystone will be a fun one to watch, and I really do hope the Steelers can get off to a 4-0 start, as it seems like it's been a while since they've been amongst the NFL elite, and with Big Ben only having a few years left, what better way to send him out than a Super Bowl title? And with that being said, that's all I have for today's video. If you ever have a video suggestion, please let me know in the comments. Please like the video, it helps a ton. I truly appreciate all the support. Let me know what you think about my video in the comments, and I will see you guys next time. Have a great day.